My name's Joseph DeLacy and I write eco-horror. Garbage Man is another ecologically inspired idea in which there's a town called Shreve, and it's situated right next to the largest landfill dump in the UK. And in the town there are a number of characters. Not all of them are particularly pleasant people. A lot of them have nasty little secrets which they're doing their best to keep covered up. And in this town there's an unusual character, an ex-photographer whose name is Mason Brand. And having retired completely from London life and from being a photographer, he becomes a hermit in the wilds of Wales for a few years. And during that time he develops a very deep connection with the land and with basically the voice of nature. And on returning to civilization, he finds himself also in the town of Shreve, just as things are beginning to change. In the landfill, the combination of rubbish and organic matter and technological matter that we've tipped into the ground creates a kind of amniotic fluid, and when that's struck by lightning, life begins to bubble up and come out of the landfill, and it's into that situation that we take Mason Brand. Well, in terms of writers, it has to be the earliest horror writers that I was reading back when I was around 10 years old. So I went from reading lovely, fluffy Enid Blyton stories to reading James Herbert and obviously Stephen King at the time. But back then, I don't know if you remember, people like Guy N. Smith were at their height. Graham Masterton's stories as well. But probably the thing that turned me was reading James Herbert's Rats and The Fog when I literally was just 10. And it's I'm sure some people would look at that and think, oh no, that child is now damaged. But for me, it was like opening a door on this new world where anything could happen. And I think later on in life, I was quite late to writing. Probably it was 30 before I began writing. But it was those experiences of fiction that really, that I came back to, and I wanted to open the same doors that those writers had opened for me, if you know what I'm saying. I'm also very influenced by science fiction, perhaps less apparent in my writing, but I mean, I loved reading Asimov and Arthur C. Clarke and Patrick Tilley and Greg Bear, lots of sci-fi, Philip K. Dick and Douglas Adams, which I know is comedy, but I also love comic writing. So I thoroughly enjoyed all of those things and have been to some degree, I think, probably influenced by them. But yeah, science fiction film also. I mean, if I'm going to get lost in something, going to a really, really good sci-fi movie and just disappearing into that world is probably as great a pleasure as there can be. Well, the short answer is it's probably the nicest thing anybody's ever said about me, and for it to be somebody like Stephen King, it elevates it to a level that's hard to describe. But I can tell you that when that piece of news came in, it was a text from my publisher at the time, back in sort of 2007, 2008, and we were on holiday. We were on a walking holiday in the mountains somewhere in Europe. I guess it was Austria, something like that. And the phone went, and I had a look, and it said, "Guess what Stephen King thinks about your book?" And I had a look at this thing, and fortunately there was a bench nearby, and I just went and sat down, and I looked out across the valley and thought, oh, this is the day that it all changes. And but of course it wasn't. These things take a lot longer, but it's a wonderful, wonderful thing, yeah, a highlight. I'd like them to feel a little bit disturbed, a little bit shocked, perhaps wanting a bit of a cry. Again, it's a question of wanting someone to come away having been transported. They read the story, they fell in with the characters, and they've been on a journey with those characters, hopefully a really horrible journey in this case, and have come out the other side. And even though things might not have worked out quite so well for the people in the book, at least they know that they're just the reader and they got away with it.